Hi, I'm here in Ireland with Mark Boyden, founder of the StreamScapes project. StreamScapes is an environmental NGO focused on environmental education through the lens of Atlantic salmon conservation, of water and water quality, and of catchments. We wanted to talk with Mark about the amazing publishing house that has been part of the StreamScapes project, how it happened, why it happened, and what the impact has been. Thanks for joining us, Mark. So, Mark, tell us about the StreamScapes publishing house.
Well, I suppose, Michael, we started off with direct community engagement through schools, community groups, and involving farmers, foresters, local, what we have here in Ireland, tidy towns groups, and other community entities, angling clubs, and obviously it just became clear that we needed a booklet as memento of the project, but also the importance of conveying that best practice, and also we very much believe in what we call the kitchen table moment, where a direct participant takes a publication home and leaves it on the kitchen table. Other family members, friends and relatives of that household will call by, and if it's compelling, they'll pick it up and they'll read it themselves, and that builds capacity for spreading these messages and promoting discussion of all these important issues of the day. We started off in the 90s with quite generic stuff. I mean, literally StreamScapes Basic. It's a compilation of infographics. We backed that up with a teacher's guide dedicated to elaborating on the lessons in StreamScapes Basic. We went through on to produce StreamScapes Advanced, which is a much more elaborate and developed approach to catchment education, watershed education. We've done other generic publications. There's this very popular Ireland Land of Rivers booklet, which takes the reader through all the importance of and the wonder of the fact that Ireland is covered in rivers. Then there's kind of the more specialized generic publications. This is Salmon Sanctuaries, which you're familiar with, which looks at the importance and the life cycle of the wild Atlantic salmon, with a foreword by An Uachtaráin, our president, Michael D. Higgins. But very, very quickly we realized that localizing the issues, rather than being generic and rather than being too widespread, but to focus on a given area and to relate all of that content, whether it's water quality or whether it's the range of biodiversity within a given catchment, the habitats and the species from source to sea in that catchment. And so we started, where we were producing projects, we localized these booklets. So like, for instance, here's a marine catchment in southeast Galway Bay, and we collaborated with that community to produce a small publication in support of their concerns over water quality, particularly as it impacted on the inshore waters. Here's Lough Arrow, which is kind of County Sligo, County Roscommon border, a considerable and very interesting and unique loch in Ireland. And then, so what we're trying to do in localizing the booklets as well is to increase the community ownership of these publications. So literally my job is, in a given catchment, I'll go and I'll meet with the community and identify potential contributors, whether they're farmers and they can write about their own farming practice and the life and times of being a farmer in the 21st century, and how they relate to water quality, what the initiatives they're taking to improve water quality, but also the other contributors, potential contributors from people who can write articles of local history, local biodiversity. And then you'll often find that there's somebody, who's a local wildlife photographer. So suddenly that yields pictures of the local birds, the local insects, local landscapes. and then when you're lucky, you find actually practicing artists. I mean, like for instance, this booklet, the Glen River in north side of Cork City, had a wealth of, of artists. So, you know, literally they generated some fantastic material, you know, including species and habitats. They provided mapping through a local environmental group, Cork Nature Network, and so and there was just fantastic. People came out, amateur historians, and one thing and another told their stories, and that also led to being approached by the relevant local government department. They've come up with this Blue Dot initiative to look at what was pristine even up till 20 years ago and to prioritize these catchments to restore them to their formerly pristine status. And so we're working with them to produce the template for the Blue Dot catchments, and luckily for us, it was in our own catchment, the Comhola River, which you'd be familiar with, you know, from our travels together through the catchment. The cover photo here is one of the sources of the Comhola River, which is a high mountain lake, Loch na Brachtar, which means Lake of the Red Trout, a reference to the Arctic char. But again, what we've managed to elicit is local, you know, we're featuring the schools and community group participation with photographs. We have a lovely local ranger who was able to write on nature in the Comhola catchment, and of course, and these photographs largely came from local wildlife photographers as well. So this increases the ownership of a given project, because you're going nowhere if you're just kind of, you know, from on high, you're telling people what they should do. If they own the outcomes, and if they own the solutions to the issues that water quality and biodiversity is facing, then it's much more likely to have you know, good spread of buy-in throughout the community, and suddenly people are, you know, it's building that kind of currency of the issues, and people are chatting and saying, oh, what can we do? So, you know, you're generating the solutions. So that's, I mean, in all, I think it could be 35 publications we've done over the last 25 years or so. So it's ongoing, and I look forward to the next booklets that we're producing this year in 2023 for Blue Dot catchments in Connemara, kind of County Galway, and then also up in the northwest in County Donegal, and a few other catchments as well.
Now, having done this over the years, do you have a sense of the uptake and the impact of these publications?
Yes, the people eat them up. I mean, like, for instance, our methodology in catchment education would depend on directly engaging with kind of a small critical mass of local population. Take the River Island catchment, flows through Skibbereen on the south coast, South Cork coast, and it's a 500 square kilometer catchment. What's that, 200 square miles? And, or give or take. And literally there would be, it's a population of about 12 to 13,000 people. And during that engagement, there was 22 schools between upstream and right onto the offshore islands. And so we would have engaged with all 22 schools, and then a selection, maybe half a dozen community groups, half a dozen corporate groups. All of them are involved in in-stream field trips and reflection on what is determining local water quality. But then the reason, again, as I say, for producing the supporting publication is not only do, in this case, we had 800 direct participants in the project. They all took home a booklet, but then we also distributed them gratis through, you know, supermarkets, doctors and dentists waiting room, giving them out on the street, and we featured a map which was, you know, kind of frameable, and people just wanted this to have and to hold and to, you know, and to really enjoy, and to, as I say, it really promoted discussion. So it was all part of the approach to actually establishing that these things are worth caring about, that they're worth discussing, and that they're worth acting upon.
Fantastic. Just for a little bonus, I'm interested in your origin story. How did this end up being work that you did for your life?
I suppose, I suppose I was just, I mean, like so many of us, I was drawn to water. I've always had an interest in swimming, and then that led to an interest in snorkeling, even freshwater snorkeling in rivers and lakes, and then also, I suppose, just being environmentally aware and environmentally concerned. It seemed to me that really environmental education was an absolutely critical bridge to conveying that science and making that science accessible to ordinary people and right across the community. And so that was the motivation. I just felt that so much of this was top down. I mean, this is going back to the 70s, 80s, before there was a bit more of a change and a bit more of a buy-in, the fact that people have to co-author things, but very much that. So we were there saying, look, the community should be at the heart of all of these actions.
Great. So we're having kind of a rainy summer, July anyway, in Ireland, and
yeah, January in Ireland has the most rain, and the second highest month is July. So welcome to Ireland, Michael.
yeah, it's cool and rainy. So let's grab Liam and go swimming.
Okay, I'm up for it.